Your Honor, the parties have agreed that Ms. Gibson will be primary. The GO will be Galveston and contiguous counties. The parties have agreed that the conservatorship will be joint managing conservatorship, but we will need to address mom's exclusive, being exclusive on certain rights. The parties have agreed to possession access being the stay in a possession order, but we do have to address the summer possession. That's going to be an issue. The parties have agreed to app close. The parties have agreed that the child support will be based on minimum wage, $1256.67 gross. One child herein and 4 children outside this case. 1 child that dad is on child support on, and then 3 kids that live in his household. So it's going to be 1 and 4. The parties have agreed that the child in this case will be covered by a governmental health plan, which will be maintained by mom, and dad pay $50 in cash medical towards that. And the child support would be based on all those figures would be $150 a month. The parties have also agreed for mutual injunctions that they mutually follow these injunctions. Number 1, disturbing the peace of the child. 2, using corporal punishment to discipline the child or allowing others to use corporal punishment to discipline the child. 3, hiding or secreting the child from the other party. 4, making disparaging remarks regarding the other party or the other party's family in the presence or within the hearing of the child or any form of social media. 5, allowing the child to remain in the presence of others making disparaging remarks regarding the other party or the other party's family in the presence or within the hearing of the child or in any form of social media. 6, communicating with the other party in person or in any other manner, including by telephone or another electronic voice transmission, video chat, in writing or electronic messages in vulgar, profane, obscene, or indecent language, or in a coercive or offensive manner. 7, threatening the other party in person or in any other manner, including by telephone or another electronic voice transmission, video chat, in writing or electronic messaging, to take unlawful action against any person. 8, causing bodily injury to the other party or to a child of either party. And then 9, threatening the other party or a child of either party with imminent bodily injury. Your Honor, I believe also the parties agreed to establish that Mr. Nwogu is the father of the child herein.
What about the last name?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
The last name? Is that an issue or is it an agreed upon?
No, last name, I want last name change.
That will be taken up during the hearing as well, Your Honor.
So that is an issue?
That is an issue.
Yes, Your Honor. We were not aware that that was an issue, Your Honor. The child is 9 and has had the same last name its whole life.
I know I don't have a lawyer, but I'm speaking for myself because right is right. I believe my child.
Sir, we'll get there right now. We're just figuring out what is agreed to and what are issues.
Okay.
And then we'll have testimony.
Your Honor, the other issue is retro.
Okay.
And as said in my agreement, in the agreement that I just read in, certain exclusive rights that mom wants is going to be an issue, and then summer possession during the SPO is going to be an issue. So I calculate 4 issues.
I have 5 issues, Your Honor. Now that the name has been added, that's one of the issues. My client is requesting alternating weekly with possessions for the month of June and July. She would like the right of first refusal. She's asking for exclusive educational, medical, psychological, and passport rights. The name change, which we're just now finding out is at issue, and the retro child support, Your Honor.
Okay, I think Mr. Decamation was missing the right of first refusal.
Yes,
Who's missing?
correct.
Okay, so everyone's on the same page now.
Your Honor, may I call my first witness?
Yes.
State calls Miss Tiara Gibson. Miss Gibson, can you state your name for the record?
Tiara Gibson.
And Miss Gibson, did you hear and understand all the agreements that I just read into the record?
Yes.
Okay, and are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, ma'am, did you now who is your child, ma'am?
Zion Gibson.
And how old is he?
He's 9.
Okay. And who is the father?
Victor Nwogu.
Okay. Now, did you ever live in the same household as Mr. Nwogu?
No.
Okay. And you're asking for retro child support?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand that the presumption is 4 years, right?
Yes, 4 years.
Okay. So you're asking for retro child support from the going back from the filing date 4 years. That would be March 1, 2020 to present, right?
Yes. Well, we talked about the 3,000 estimate that he may have paid.
But I'll get to that, ma'am. So
Mhm.
has during this period of time, how much, to the best of your knowledge, how much money has he given you in support of your child during this period of time?
I can estimate, I would estimate about 3,000 because it's maybe like 100 or 200 every other month or so.
Okay. What is the last name of the child, ma'am?
Gibson.
And do you want to keep the child's name Gibson?
No, he can have his last name.
Okay. So if the judge rules that the child's name is going to be Nwogu, that'd be okay with you?
That would be okay.
Okay. Now, ma'am, do you wanted certain exclusive rights under
Yes.
the JMC? So, do you want to make exclusive decisions for education, medical, and psychiatric, and passport?
Yes, I mean, we live. Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, when you make decisions for the child regarding medical, do you consult the other party,
Um,
Mr. Nwogu?
when we did have a communication, yes.
So, when was the last time y'all were communicating?
Um, effectively, positively, maybe a year or 2 ago.
Okay. Now you're asking for alternating weeks in the month of June and July, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Um, why don't you want to do what's in the standard possession order of 30 days?
Because of the corporal punishment and the mental neglect of being forced to call someone mom and being ignored if he doesn't call his wife mom. So, and when he's not there, you know, and if they go a full consecutive 30 days, I wouldn't want him to have to, suffer through that. And also because he does extracurricular activities that his dad may or may not support.
Okay. Pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Whitaker, do you have questions for Ms. Gibson?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Gibson, in regards to the retro child support payments that you have received, what were the manner of receipt of those payments? Like, what did you get them? Zelle, Cash App, PayPal? How did you receive those?
Zelle or Cash App.
And were they every month or inconsistent?
Inconsistent.
When is the last time you got any money from Mr. Nwogu?
It was about he filed here in March, so I would say around that time he sent I believe $100.
And it's has it ever been consistently every month?
No.
But all of the payments have been electronic, is that correct?
Yes, for the most part.
And he's never has he given you cash before?
He's given me cash, yes, to help pay for birthdays. Yes, he's given me cash before.
And how many occasions would you say he's given you cash?
I would say about 10 occasions.
10 total in the 9 years, or in the last 4 years?
I would say in the 9 years.
Okay, but what about just in the last 4 years? How many times has he given you cash?
Maybe about 4.
And you are requesting for alternating weeks in the summer, is that correct?
Yes.
You testified a moment ago that you feel like your son is being emotionally neglected.
Yes.
When your son goes to his dad's house, is his dad always there?
No.
Does your son tell you that he's being left and his dad is not there?
Yes.
What are your concerns regarding him staying the full 30 days as opposed to alternating weeks during the months of June and July?
The concern is just being emotionally neglected and possibly threatened to be hit or hit.
Has anyone spanked or hit your son at Mr. Nwogu's residence?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Nwogu is married, is that correct?
Yes.
As far as you know, how long has he been married?
As far as I know, he's been married 7 to 8 years right after.
And so he has another child that was born in 2019, is that correct?
I'm just finding this out.
You're just finding this out today?
Mm-hmm.
So he's had at least one child while married, is that your understanding?
From today, yes, I understand that.
And he now has another child, and he has your child as well, is that correct?
Yes.
And so you also testified that you and Mr. Nwogu has never lived together.
Never.
Do you spank your son?
Yes.
And do you allow other people to spank your son?
No.
Now, you understand that with an injunction on corporal punishment, you will not be spanking your son and not allowing other people to spank your son. You understand that?
Yes.
And Mr. Nwogu will do the same.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, who has your son ever mentioned who else is allowed to spank him?
Has he mentioned it?
Has your son mentioned it?
No. He's mentioned, yes, Victor's wife.
And have you tried communicating about that treatment with him?
I have.
And as far as you know, before today and the agreement on the injunction, had that ceased before today?
No, it has not.
Now, when you leave, or how often do you know Mr. Nwogu to leave your son either at his home or with family members?
Just about every visit.
And so is that why you're requesting the right of first refusal?
Yes.
Do you know Mr. Nwogu to have a consistent job?
I do not.
Has your son ever told you that he's been left with various family members frequently when visiting the dad?
Yes. Not only his wife, but part of her family as well.
So your son has been left with his stepmom's family in addition to other people?
Yes.
Has your son commented on the treatment that he gets from those people?
Yes.
And what, without going into direct quotes, is there anything concerning you about that treatment?
Yes.
What is it?
They're not being treated equally.
Who is they when you say they?
Him and his siblings.
And when you say siblings, are you talking about the children that he has with his dad has with the stepmom?
Yes.
And if you were granted the right of first refusal, would you be willing to drive to pick up your son?
Yes.
And so if Mr. Nwogu messaged you on the app and said, hey, I cannot have him, I was going to drop him off with my, in-laws, can you keep him? Would you be willing to drive to go get your son?
Yes.
Do they all live near each other?
No, Your Honor. She lives in Galveston County. They live in Harris County.
What part of Harris County? Yeah.
I'm not familiar with all the different parts, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Even though I do live in Harris County as well, I'm not familiar with all the parts.
Because it could be, I mean, that could be like a 5-minute drive. It could be.
No, it's
an
not
hour
far.
drive.
It's not close.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. And in regards to the exclusive right to make educational decisions, who's been the one enrolling your son in school?
I have.
Has the dad ever enrolled him in school?
No.
Has he ever made any major educational decisions for the child, like what classes he will be in, what he'll be tested for, things of that nature?
No.
What about medical decisions? Who picked your son's pediatrician?
I do.
And what about the dentist? Who picked that?
Me as well.
Has he ever made any of those decisions?
No.
What about, does your son have a therapist or a psychologist at this time?
No.
But in the past, has your son's father ever mentioned wanting to pick a therapist for the child or a psychologist for the child?
No.
And as far as you know, you are asking for exclusive passport rights. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And that's in regards to applying for and reapplying for and holding the passport. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as you know, is your son's father a U.S. citizen?
As far as I know, I think so. I don't know.
And as far as you know, does he have the ability to get his son a U.S. passport?
I do not know.
Has he ever mentioned a desire to get the child a passport for his country or the U.S., any country?
No.
And so he's never mentioned ever wanting to make those decisions, has he?
No.
Do you think that if the court ordered you to have to make educational and medical and psychological decisions together, that that would be in your son's best interest?
No. It has to
You mentioned earlier that you and your son's father have communication issues. Do you believe that that contributes to your inability to make these decisions together, or has he just shown no interest in making them?
I believe that affects the inability, not being able to communicate.
And you testified earlier that it's been about 2 years since you guys had healthy communication. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you believe that you having the exclusive rights to make educational decisions, invasive medical decisions, psychological decisions, and the passport rights would be in your son's best interest. Is that correct?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Nwogu, do you have any questions to ask Ms. Gibson?
Yes, Your Honor. She had mentioned in the past 8 years that I've let's start from the child support part that I've only given her more
These are questions for Ms. Gibson to answer, not comments.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Gibson to answer?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Dehumejan, do you have any further questions for her?
No.
You may call your next witness.
Mr. Nwogu, may you, can you state your name for the record?
Victor Nwogu.
Mr. Nwogu, I know it's been a couple minutes, but I read the agreement into the record that you previously agreed to. Did you hear, understand what I read into the record?
Yes. Yes, sir, I
And
did.
are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. Well, first of all, Mr. Nwogu, what part of Harris County do you live in?
I live off of close to Highway 6. It's close to Mission. It's Harris County, close to Mission Bend.
Fishman.
So it's from me to her is probably about over 30 miles, or about 40 miles or more.
40 miles?
Or more.
Okay. Mr. Nwogu, during the retro period between March 1, 2020 to present, were you working?
No, Your Honor.
I'm
No,
not the
sir.
judge. Yeah.
No, sir.
Okay. Now, Ms. Gibson testified that she received approximately $3,000 from you during this period. Do you that you believe that you gave her during this period?
Yeah, I believe I gave her way more than that. I mean, I might not give her. That's no need to sit here and make up stuff. So if I don't give her money every month, at least I don't skip more than a month. And when I'm giving her money for the month that I missed, I always try to make it up for the one that I didn't. So we never had any issue with these payments because she also understands, when I'm late. But at least for the most part, I'll do what I'm supposed to do as a father to take care of my child.
Okay. Now you said that you gave her money every month, right? So how much money were you giving her every month?
Sometimes $200, sometimes $150 or $180, or sometimes it could be up to $300. It just depends on what I have. And sometimes after sending the $200, she needs something for the child. If I have it, I will still send it. That has never been an issue.
Okay. What are some things that the child needs that you sent money for? Can you name a few things?
Yeah, it could be school clothes or books. It ranges from anything like a child could need. I can't really name them right now, but whatever. I don't question it. Whatever she asks me, I mean, if I have the money, maybe birthdays, Christmas or whatever. It could be anything.
Okay. Now, do you want to make decisions regarding regarding the child's education?
Yes, I want to.
Have you made decisions in the past regarding his education?
I've always wanted to, but I wasn't given the opportunity to this, which is the reason why after 8 years, it took me 8 years to finally give up, trying to work it out, and started to go to the system, through the proper channel, so I can be able to have all the rights that I've been denied for so long. So this is the only reason why I had to file, put in paperwork for the child support. Yes, I want to be absolutely. I want to go to the PTA meetings. I want to go. I go to this. Sorry to involve this. Ms. Gibson has another child that is not even mine. I go to his basketball games, his football games. So how much more my own child? So yes, I want to be 100% involved in his life until I'm not here no more.
Do you make education decisions for your other children?
Yes, I do. 100%. I'm involved in my children's life, in every aspect of their life.
Sir, are you saying that she kept you from joining the PTA?
Ma'am, look.
Do you understand you can go to PTA.com and join?
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I had to find out the name of my child's school from my son. So imagine the whole time that he don't know the address, school address, and everything. I don't know absolutely nothing about my child. Do I want to? Ever since he was born, I just go to I still remember the daycare that he used to go to. I used to go there when we're in a good time. When she's not happy, she will cut me off completely and then everything concerning my child. Yes, I didn't know the school he goes to. I don't know nothing about my child.
I have a question.
Sir,
is he at the zone school or is he in a private school or in a charter school?
It's a public school.
Okay.
So yes, I want to be involved in my child's life. This is the only thing that makes sense. No, I don't mean to disrespect the proceeding, but the only thing that makes sense to me in this whole proceeding is for me to have access to my son, to spend time with my son, to see my son when I want to see him, to have a good relationship with my son.
Sir, you're in testimony right now, so let Mr. Defamation ask you questions.
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Nwogu, please, if you could just answer the questions I'm asking. Mr. Nwogu, do you want to make medical and psychological decisions for your child?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you making those types of decisions for your other kids?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to make decisions regarding this child's passport?
Yes.
Whether to apply, make those decisions regarding the child's passport?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you made those decisions for your other children?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does your other children have passports?
No, they don't. But in case of they might have to be involved in it. It's a conversation.
Okay. Now, getting to the standard possession order. Now, you understand under the standard possession order, it's 30 days during the summer. Is that what you're requesting, the 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you understand mom wants to do alternating weeks in June and July instead of the 30 days. You don't want that?
No, sir.
Why?
I just, he lives with her from January to January, and she lived far away from me. I just want it to be a situation where he comes and spend that whole time without changing any routine, bedtime routine or any other stuff like traveling back and forth and all this other stuff. I just want him to be able to spend that amount of time. He has other siblings here. So like at least in a day, more than 5 times in a day, they ask me about him. So I want them to be able to spend that time, together, under the same roof without no interruption, at least, even if that's what the only time I get that amount of time.
Okay.
In as much as I'm not satisfied with it, but I can deal with that one.
Okay. Mr. Nwogu, now did you want the right of first refusal in the possession access order?
Can you explain to me again what that means?
It's when when you decide not to exercise your right, then Miss Gibson would have.
I get it. So in terms of if I'm not home, to call her to come pick him up.
Well, she would have the right of first refusal.
No, I refuse.
Okay. Why do you refuse?
Okay, so my son turned 9. And my wife has been in his life for the most part. My whole family here, majority of them are not here. I only have my wife and her family here. So my wife has been in his life since he was less than 6 months old, and she is somebody I will even if I'm dead, I'm not here today, I will trust her to keep my family, especially my children, which is including him, together. So, and then also my in-laws, everybody love him. We are family, and there's no, I don't know how to explain this because it's hard for me to explain how.
Well, let me ask you a question. So are you saying that your son has a good relationship with the extended family?
Yes, my son was literally crying to spend the first time in his 9 years, his birthday, with my family at his basketball game that we just went. She was there. He was literally crying, begging her that he wanted to spend his first only birthday over here with us. Everybody loved him.
Okay, pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Whitaker, do you have any questions for Mr. Nwogu?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. What are the ages of your other children, Mr. Nwogu?
I have 12 years old. Well, I don't do step, but that's not my stepdaughter. But she was not included in the whatever calculation for child support. Then I have Zion, which is 9. The one we are in court today is 9. Then I have 7 years old. I have 5 almost 6. Then I have Victoria. I have 5 years old, and I have 3 years old.
Okay, and the 3-year-old, is that the one that you are already on child support for in Harris County?
The 3 years old, no, that's 5 years old.
That's the 5-year-old?
5 years old and almost 6 years old, yes.
Okay, so you have, how many children do you have with your wife? Not including the 12-year-old stepdaughter?
Yeah, 2.
2. And that's the 3-year-old and the what?
That's a 3 years old and 7.
Okay, and so you have Zion, who's 9, who's the child of this case. Then you have a 7-year-old with your wife. You have a 5-year-old with someone else, not your wife, and a 3-year-old with your wife. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And for the other child that you do not have with your wife, you have a child support order in for that child. Is that correct?
You actually have, on 2, yes.
Okay. In that order, if you can recall, do you have the rights to make educational, invasive medical, or psychological decisions?
On all of them, yes, I do.
You're certain that you have those rights.
100%.
You understand that making the decisions and being able to join the PTA and talk to teachers, those are 2 different things. You understand that?
Yeah, I know what those rights are. I do understand.
Okay. So do you understand that she's not trying to keep you from joining the PTA or talk to teachers or anything like that?
That's what I said she's trying to do. Why asking me, do I understand?
No, I'm asking if you understand that she's not trying to do that.
Well, I understand that she's doing that, not trying to. She's already doing that.
No, so she's wanting the exclusive right to make educational decisions, not to keep you out of the child's education. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand what she's trying to do, to make all the decisions concerning his schools and everything concerning his education. Ma'am, I'm a graduate. I know that.
Okay. And so you testified a moment ago that you have not participated in making those decisions previously for Zion. Is that correct?
Yes, because I haven't been given the opportunity to do it. Yes.
And Mrs. Gibson testified earlier that the 2 of you have not really had healthy communications in the last 2 years. Would you agree with that?
It's not up to 2 years, but we agree that our communication and relationship hasn't been the same. For me, I would say a little bit over a year.
And in that time, and Miss Gibson testified that the last time you gave her any money for your son was March of this year. Is that correct?
March of this year. I have to check on my record to know, but I'm not sure. March. This is August. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I don't have to agree on that one, but I'm not pretty sure about that one.
Now, you testified that you gave Mrs. Gibson money every single month for your child. Is that your testimony today?
I said I give her money every month, but even when I miss a month, I'll try to make it up. That's exactly what I said.
Okay. And are you a U.S. citizen?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have a U.S. passport?
I have to be a U.S. citizen to have a U.S. passport? No.
Okay. Well, you can be a permanent resident.
But I can't have. Well, he asked me if I have a U.S. passport. I said no. He asked me if I'm a U.S. citizen. I said no. Asked me if I have a U.S. passport.
So you don't agree with Miss Gibson having the right to apply for the child's passport. That's your position today?
Without me being involved, I want to be involved in it. That's why I say yes.
May I ask, why would you like to be involved with the passport?
I want to be involved, not just on the passport, on every aspect, especially from today upward by the order of the court. I want to 100% now having my right that I haven't had before, that I've been left in her mercy. Now with the court order, I want to be able to have all the rights that duly mine. That's what this is all about. So I want to be involved. Like if she's going to go get the passport, I want to go with her. Whatever information they want to put that's information on the passport, I want to be involved in it. So in case of tomorrow, if I feel I want to travel somewhere, I don't have to act like I'm kidnapping my own child. So that's the reason why I want to be involved in it. It's not like I can take him away from the U.S. without her consent, but I want to be involved because she might not know that I can't even take her, even my own children with my wife whatsoever. I can't take them away out of the US without her consent. That's not how it works. So I want to be able to be involved in everything she's doing that involves my child. The same way I would get her involved if my child is under my custody while she's over there. So it's just, you know, what's right is right.
Now, how many, who's your child's pediatrician, Zion's pediatrician?
I don't know his pediatrician.
And when is the last time you went to a doctor's appointment with Zion?
Last time I went, it's been over a year or two.
Okay, and what about when is the last time you went to a dentist appointment with Zion?
And that's always, okay, let me make sure I answer correct. That's only whenever she tells me that is sick at the hospital, I'll always leave whatever I'm doing. I'm racing over there to go. Whatever. If I'm informed, I'll always be there. But I can only.
But my question is, when is the last time? So when was the last time?
I don't remember the last time.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I want you to realize that having the rights to, or the joint right to make invasive medical decisions doesn't necessarily give you the right to go to a doctor. They're kind of two different issues.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Making sure we all kind of understand this.
Yes, I understand. Okay, so you can be able to know that I know exactly what I'm asking for. Let me give an instance, and I hope it never comes to that. Let's say there's something wrong with my child. A decision has to be made. So who's gonna make that decision? She might agree. Let's say, God forbid, I'm not wishing that on anybody, not even my own child, whereby maybe they had to pull a plug. I might be like, hey, leave him there for a little while. She might be like, pull the plug. I understand exactly what all these things are about, Your Honor.
And Mr. Nwogu, Mrs. Gibson testified that sometimes one of the reasons she's requesting alternating summer weeks is that you don't want to comply with the child's extracurricular schedule. Is that true?
That's not true. I go to her son basketball games from Houston all the way over there. So what about my own child? That's absolutely not true.
So if your son has extracurriculars that are maybe have camps during the summer, practice during the summer, games during the summer, you'd be willing to drive back to Galveston for those events and occasions?
As long as we have to plan about that ahead. That's what co-parenting is all about. We make those decisions together. You cannot just pop up and make a decision without consulting me to work it together and calling me to wake up in the morning. I've been doing it for the past 8 years, but I'm not doing it anymore because I want us to have those agreements prior.
So is your position that you're only going to do it if you agree in advance?
No, we have to work together. I did not say agree in advance. We have to work together, be considerate of each other's time. That's what I said.
What about your son's time? You don't believe that what your son's activities shouldn't be a priority?
Of course, that's what I say. His activities is number one priority. That's what I say. But we are the ones as parents making those arrangements. We always have a way of working on time that suits us. So I did not say he's not a priority. He is.
Okay, so have you ever declined to take your son to his extracurriculars?
No, I've never.
So he's never missed any of his extracurriculars when he was with you?
One that I'm aware of, I've never missed, not even one. I told you I go to her son's basketball game, football games. How would I miss my own son's basketball?
I'm not asking when you missed the game. I'm talking about the practices, the meetings,
the practices,
any of that.
All of those practices or whatever. I go to her sons. That is not mine. So why would I miss my sons? No, I have not. To answer the question, I've not, unless I'm not aware of it.
Mrs. Gibson testified that you often leave, or she said almost every visit, you leave the son that you guys have, Zion, with your in-laws. Is that true?
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Do you think that's in your son's best interest?
No, you would ask me, okay, yes, I think it's his best interest. Okay. Ma'am, we are parents here.
I'm going to object to the as non-responsive after yes, Your Honor.
Sir, just listen to the questions and answer the questions, please.
The 5-year-old, the other child that you have that's not with your wife, yes, with your wife, do you leave that child with your in-laws?
My family members, yes, I do.
Okay. When you leave the children or Zion with them, where are you?
I might go, okay. In instances, there's a birthday parties, or there's a church. For example, my mother-in-law is a minister. She's a pastor. So, for instances, there's a program going on over there at her house or family gathering. Of course, I go with my children, my whole family. We're there. I might go to the store. She will call me on the phone and say she wants to speak to Zion. I would tell her, I'm not at the house right now, or I could step out when those are instances. Not like my son has never a day in the past 9 years or 8 years of his life ever slept anywhere on aside from this roof. So it could be an instance we go over there to my mother-in-law, which is the only family I have here, my wife and my mother-in-law. So we are over there. I step out, she call me, where is Zion? I want to talk to him. I say, I'm not home right now, or this is where we are. When I go.
Sir, the question was, where are you? And I think I missed the answer.
I could be at the store or just step out. It's not like I went.
Okay, so are you at work during those times?
No, I just step out, maybe go to the store or something. No, not at work.
Okay, so you're saying that you're not leaving Zion with your in-laws, you're just going to the store.
I might, step out, something like that. Not like leaving him overnight or all day. I mean, I don't live with him, man. The time I have with him, I spend it with him, not leaving him with other people.
Okay, so when Ms. Gibson testified that almost every visit you leave him with other people, that's not true?
No, that's not true.
If the court orders for Mrs. Gibson to have the right of first refusal, would you want for Ms. Gibson to have to do the pickups for that, so that you don't have to drive across the 40 miles?
I hope that would not be the case, but if she wants to really do that, if that's what the court wants, which I don't see any reason why for them to do that, yes. I mean, I have to obey what the court says.
Ms. Whitaker, can you clarify for him and for me what time frame you're requesting a right of first refusal?
Your Honor,
I don't think he understands what it is, and I know what it is, but given their distance, I'm not sure I understand how it would work.
If the child is going to be not with Mr. Nwogu for more than 3 hours, my client would request that she be given the right to basically be his babysitter during that time, so that he doesn't have to leave the child, whether it's for work or going to the store, with other people, family members, in-laws, etc.
So after the 3 hours, she would return the child back to him if it was his.
Your Honor, that's what be the parameters of the right of first refusal. Whenever the dad cannot have him.
Okay. And she realizes that too, that she would have to go get the child from Highway 6-ish area, possibly come back to Galveston, and then a few hours later, possibly return the child there. That's what she's agreeing to do.
Correct. If the court, that's why I asked him if he wanted for her to do the driving, Your Honor.
Okay.
Before I answer that question, so I have a question. So I want to know.
I'm going to object to the questioning.
I mean, I cannot answer that question. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I cannot answer that question unless I get a contest. So I'm in the house with my wife. I cannot leave my child with my wife.
I'm going to object to the narrative.
This is not the time for you to ask questions. If you don't understand a question, you could say, I can't answer this, or I don't know how to answer this, but you have to answer the question.
I can't answer it. I don't know how to answer.
I don't think she asked you a question yet, Ms. Whitaker.
You're aware of the injunctions that we agreed, that you two have agreed to, means that you will not be spanking the child or allowing other people to spank the child. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Dehamian, do you have any further questions for Mr. Nwogu?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any other witnesses?
I don't.
Ms. Whitaker, do you have any witnesses?
I would just like to recall Mrs. Gibson, Your Honor.
You may do so.
Thank you. Mrs. Gibson, you heard Mr. Nwogu's testimony that he wants to be involved in the child's decision-making for educational, medical, invasive medical, and psychological decisions. Did you hear his testimony regarding that?
Yes.
Have you kept Mr. Nwogu from making any of those decisions?
No, he's been allowed to come to his school, and we've even sat down before his teachers before. So no.
And so even with those actions, he has not been involved in enrolling the child in school or picking the pediatrician or the dentist or, suggesting a therapist or anything like that.
Yes, all while being allowed, has not been participating in those decisions.
Mr. Nwogu just testified a moment ago that when you call and ask to speak with your son, he says that he may just be at the store. Is that your understanding of where he is when he's leaving the child?
I mean, no, because it seems like every time I call, it's at somewhere outside. Zion's not around. So, yeah.
And when was the last time that happened?
The last time he was over there, I called, and it was the same thing. I'm not at home right now. I'll call you when I get back.
And are you willing, if the court orders you to have the right of first refusal, are you willing to drive to go get your son when Mr. Nwogu is not available to have him?
I want us to be able to meet somewhere halfway.
But if you understand, if he's not available to have your son, then he probably is also not available to drive.
Yeah, I'm willing to go pick him up. But then whenever he's done, we can meet up halfway.
And you also heard his testimony that he has not kept your son from any of his extracurricular activities. Is that true?
No, that's the reason why he didn't go the last time, because he wasn't willing to take him to his basketball game. He wasn't willing to drive to his basketball game, and Zion wanted to go, so I had to take him.
And when you say you had to take him, are you saying that you went to pick him up from his dad's house to take him to his extracurricular activity?
No, he had been going to practice, and I told him that he had a game coming up, and he didn't go to his dad's house for that weekend because Victor wasn't willing to take him to his basketball game, even though it was in Houston.
So it was near him, closer to
Yes.
him, and he still was not willing to take him to the game.
Right.
And on how many occasions have things like that occurred?
Well, Zion, I mean, it's just something that's coming about with the extracurricular activities. So, and then as far as Tyson, my other son, 3 games. I mean, that doesn't say anything. Tyson is 14. You've been to maybe 3 games.
And when you voice your concerns, like when Mr. Nwogu testified that you call him and ask to speak to your son, and you just testified a moment ago that you feel like it's every time you call, he's never around him. Do you feel like that's in your son's best interest?
No.
Has your son expressed concerns about that?
Yes, he said his dad wasn't there, or because he'll bring something up to me. I said, well, did you ask your dad? Well, he wasn't there.
And how often is that? How often is that happening, as far as you know?
Honestly, it's just about, like I said, every time. It's something he expresses to me, and I ask him, did you mention it to your dad? Well, he wasn't there.
Do you believe you're not trying to keep Mr. Nwogu from having time in the summer with your son, are you?
No.
Do you believe if he were given the standard 30 days in the summer that he would comply with making sure your son participate in whatever activities you guys have put him in?
No, I do not.
Has he demonstrated in the past that he would do that?
No.
And just for the record, one last question. Please let me know if this is my understanding of your position. You are okay with your son's name changing to his dad's last name?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. And you realize that that will be permanent even at school, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Mr. Damasian, do you have any more questions for Ms. Gibson?
No, ma'am. No, Your Honor.
Mr. Nwogu, do you have any questions for Ms. Gibson for her to answer?
Yes, Your Honor. So she mentioned
It's not a question for me, it's for a question for Ms. Gibson.
oh, okay, Tiara, you said even though I've known about his school, I've never been there. Do you remember when I told you I went to his school to just go visit or meet the teacher, and they refused me access, saying that my name is not listed on his not even an emergency contact. Do you remember that?
I'm going to object to the questioning as a mischaracterization of the witness's testimony. She never said he never went. In fact, she testified that they went together in at least one instance where she was in her testimony just now. So I'm going to object to that, Your Honor.
You can rephrase the question, sir.
Okay. Do you recall me when I called you? I told you I went to the school to go see our son, and they didn't let me see him because my name is not even on the emergency contact or as a father in the school. Do you remember that? Because what I'm asking this question is in regards to saying, even though I know about school and stuff, I never showed interest. Do you remember?
Just ask the question, less commentary, more question.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
asked her, are you aware of the school?
Remember when I told you I went
have you down and end the question there.
Yeah.
No, I don't recall you going to the school and you saying that.
Okay. The next question is: do you you said I have not even extra activities? I've not been involved. I'm not talking about. You also mentioned Tyson. Tyson is 14. He's playing basketball now. He started playing football when he was 3 years old, and I've been at least more than 10 or 20 of his games. But that's by the way. You mentioned that the summer, the reason why I did not see my son, or I never take him to the activities that he had this summer. Didn't I take him to, the reason why I met him up to pick him up, wasn't it for the same basketball game that I took him, when he came here, I was taking him to Houston. Did I take him to those basketball games or practice or not?
Did you take him to practice?
When he was, all the time that he was with me, did I take him to those practice or not?
Which practice?
The practice by, what do you call the place? 88. You know exactly what the place we met. Even when
the event, yes, I met you there. So you didn't take him there. We met there.
Now, when he was with me, did I bring him to practice from my house? No, we met there because that's where I picked him up. When he was under my custody, did I take him the days that he was supposed to be there? Did I take him to those days, to those practice or not?
That was one incident, yes.
Did I take him the whole time that he was with me? The question is yes or no. Did I take him to the practice the days that he was with me, that he was supposed to be there? Did he miss any day, or was he there late or anything? Did he come to those practice the times that he was with me?
We met there. You took him one day, yes.
Your Honor, she is not answering the question right, but I'll let her go. So what I'm asking this question is, this is not a question to her. This is a comment I'm making in addition. So since she did not answer the question.
Objection to the narrative, Your Honor.
It's not narrative.
And you have to ask questions. It's not commentary.
Okay.
So if you have a question, ask the question, but just limit it to the question.
Your Honor, I don't have more questions. I don't.
Okay. Ms. Whitaker, do you have any further questions for Ms. Gibson?
I'm just checking my notes.
Okay, feel free.
Other than the one time, Ms. Gibson, that you just testified about, how many times do you know of that Mr. Nwogu has taken your son to basketball practice?
That is the one and only time.
No further questions.
Mr. Nwogu, you don't have an attorney, so I'm going to give you a chance to speak. Please make sure it's relevant to the issues. Ms. Whitaker, feel free to make legal objections. Is there
Okay.
anything you'd like to add?
So I can talk?
Yes.
Okay. So in reference to the last question she asked her, she said, other than that, have I ever been a time again I take him to basketball or practice? She answered no. Your Honor, and everybody else listening, there's never, I have pictures of, the first sport my son played was, I think, baseball. He was barely 2 years old or something like that. And they live far away from me. I've never asked to meet halfway or anything. So every time he has an activity, of course, he live with the mom. I live over here. There's never been an occasion, a day in life that he has something that he's doing that I'm not going to be there, no matter what time it is. I've always made the trip, drive all the way to those practices. That's when I had to mention, including the one I met Tiara when Tyson was 2 years old. I've been in his life ever since that day to this day. That's nothing concern everything about him, to the point that she herself, she's here. I can lie to your face, Tiara. I mentor Tyson. That is not my child. I'm involved in his life. You call me, you tell me to talk to
I'm
Tyson.
gonna object as to the relevance of this, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah, and sir, how is this relevant? I'm going to sustain that objection with regard to that line of discussion.
So, Your Honor, the only reason why we are here today with this whole custody of a thing is, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that she's a bad mother or anything like that. She is not towards my son, and the same way that I'm not a bad father towards my son. I have goddaughters and godchildren that that I mentor, and I can't be doing all that, be that person for other people's children, while I can't even have a reasonable relationship with my own child. For instance, I'm for an NGO, our community organization. We have picnics, fundraising, scholarship fund for our children, members' children.
What organization? I'm sorry.
It's called United Kings Association. It's an NGO for my community. I've been their president for the
I thought
past.
you were working.
No, it's an NGO, non-profit organization, just community, like Nigerian community. It's not a job.
Okay.
So I'm heading somewhere with this. For instance, is the fact that we had a picnic for that organization, that that's donors, sponsors that come bringing money to, for scholarship, future scholarship for children. I communicated this is the level of non-communication we have, misunderstanding that we have that doesn't even have to be there. I told her, I sent her a message. I say, I want my son to be there. He's very smart. I want him to be there. That's the activities that is going to be involving scholarship. Please let him just come to be there, participate. She refused and things like that. I might be driving to Galveston to go pick my son up. We have that agreement. Just that on my way, she texted me. I said something that she did not like. I will drive all the way there to pick my son up. She will tell me to go back, that I cannot get my son. These are the reasons why we are here today. It's not because I've been a bad father or I have negligence or anything, such thing in my home. No, there's never been such a thing. We are here today because I get tired of begging to have relationship with my son, to see him when I want to see him. That's the only reason why I had to say, you know what, enough is enough. So asking for back child support or asking for all this other stuff, it just get at me. You here, you know that very well within yourself that I'm not that person. So I don't have a lawyer. I'm speaking for myself. So whatever decision made here today, as long as it's fair, I'm good with it. I'm just okay with it. If it's okay with you within your conscience that everything you're saying is true, let God be the judge between it. I don't have anything else to say, Your Honor.
And Ms. Gibson, is your son in a CCISD school?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, Your Honor, the same family members that she's objecting of him being with is the same people that we would drive 40 miles away to his birthday, all the way from here, the same family members. Those are the same people that she's talking about. I leave my child. Let's say you are married, so your husband cannot be with your child or your in-laws. So every time, does that also include you though? When Zion is not with you, I have to know if it's with the grandmother or that, because you cannot base on one side. And if you say you want to drive, bring him. I'm not going to meet you halfway on the time that he was supposed to be with me. I have to provide to make sure he's safe in a safe environment. I'm not going to meet you any halfway for you to bring him back. If you come here to pick him up, you're going to have to bring him back, because it's my duty to provide for him to make sure that he is safe. Unless his life is in danger or anything like that, then I will. If I don't trust anybody with him, yes, I will contact you. Be like, okay, Tiara, come help me with this. But unless I'm the one that called you and be like, not because you want me to call you, come pick him up because you don't want him to be with my mother-in-law or anybody like that. That's no other way, other places that he goes aside from my home, other my mother-in-law's house. So if you want to go that route and the court decide to go that route with you, you're going to have to pick him up and bring him back after 1 hour or 2 hours when I'm available.
Okay. Mr. Dehamasian, would you like to make a brief closing?
Yes, Your Honor, we asked that, the state asked that you make appropriate orders for the issues under the the conservatorship, the summer schedule in a possession under the standard possession order, and appropriate orders for the right of first refusal that mom is asking for. The third issue, it doesn't look like it's an issue anymore. It looks like the parties agree that the child's last name is going to be Nwogu. And the fourth issue is the retro. We ask that we take a retro judgment. I calculated the retro judgment from March 1, 2020 to present, August 21, 24 today. And based on minimum wage, I calculated $84.78. And if we give Mr. Nwogu $3,000 credit that mom testified that she received, then we would like to take a retro child support judgment in an amount of $54.78. And we'd ask that that be paid back at $35 a month, and all the support to start September 1, 2024.
Okay. And Mr. Dehamasian, so normally you have standard language you use for joint managing conservatorship. Did you show that language to Ms. Whitaker?
I didn't show her the language. I just we
You
verbally
explained it?
explained it. Yeah.
And she's not asking for that language.
No, Ms. Whitaker is asking for the exclusive for her client to be the exclusive on education, the exclusive for medical, exclusive for psychological, and exclusive for passport. She wants that word exclusive in front of all four sentences, where her client alone will be making those decisions and not jointly with the other party.
Okay, can we slowly say the exclusive one she wants? On medical, because you just said a whole lot. I'm not sure I got all those.
Okay.
Passport, educational, what was there others?
So there's 4: education, medical, psychological, and passport.
And what is she asking for on the other issues, on the other rights and duties? As compared to how you typically draft?
Just under same as the joint managing conservatorship, the way we normally do it, where they're both
Can you send her what you typically draft, please?
yes.
And Your Honor, it would be my pleasure to draft the order if the court so
Well, I
ordered.
know it's clear you don't want their standard, but I'm not sure their standard didn't accomplish what you asked for the most part. Ms. Whitaker, would you like to make a brief closing?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Counter petitioner asks that the court approve the agreements of the party as read in the records. We also request that the counter petitioner be named the primary conservator with the exclusive right to make educational, medical, and psychological decisions, as well as have the exclusive right to reapply for, hold, and maintain the child's passport. The court heard testimony today that Mr. Nwogu has not been involved in making any of those decisions. in the last 9 years. The court also heard testimony today that Mr. Nwogu and Mrs. Gibson have had at least one, but up to 2 years of issues communicating. And so we do not believe it's in the child's best interest to have two people who have not been able to effectively communicate in the last 2 years, or at least 1 year, but potentially 2 years, to make these important decisions together when they have not in the past. You heard testimony that Mr. Nwogu could not even name the child's pediatrician. So we do not believe it's in the child's best interest for those rights and duties to be shared. The parties we are requesting that Mrs. Gibson be granted the right of first refusal. You heard testimony today that Mr. Nwogu has left the child, Mrs. Gibson says, every time. He says not every time, but then he says that he's going to the store, but can't explain why the child is never around him when he doesn't have a job, supposedly. And we do believe that the alternating weeks for the summer would be in the child's best interest. Your Honor, the parties have not been able to work together in recent years to act in the best interest of the child, keep the child in its routine and have a good schedule, so that the child is not missing out on things. And oftentimes, especially when people have multiple children by multiple people, they don't tend to see the importance of keeping the child on routine because, Mr. Nwogu has 5 children, including his stepdaughter, and 2 other children that are not of his marriage with his wife. And he's clearly not prioritizing the child's extracurricular schedule as Mrs. Gibson will and has been doing. We don't believe that the deviation for the 30 days in the summer would hurt Mr. Nwogu, as actually he's going to end up getting more time when they alternate weeks during those 2 months, and still have just as much time with the child, if not more, for the summer. The parents have agreed to the injunctions, which we believe are incredibly important and I think is a step in the right direction of them becoming better co-parents at this point after several years of not being able to co-parent effectively. And so we are requesting all of those foregoing things, and we believe that those are in the best interest of the child. Thank you.
Mr. Nwogu, is there anything else you'd like to say briefly, or a brief closing, really?
Yes.
It's not a chance to respond, it's a chance to say what you want.
No, it's not to respond now. So since my stepdaughter was mentioned, and at some point during this whole thing, I felt like I was called an irresponsible father or negligence or something. So I'm going to use my stepdaughter as a case of study, or just to give a little background.
So this isn't the time to advocate, it's to summarize what you're asking for.
Okay. So my stepdaughter just turned 12 yesterday, and after 2 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer, and I wasn't even married to her mom. And I sleep at the hospitals and taking care of her, and that's a child that is not biologically mine. So if I could be there, that's my summarizing for everything. If I could be there for a child that is not biologically mine, I feel like, and if I could be able to drive from Houston to all the way over there every time I'm needed for activities that I've not even given heads up ahead of time to do, I will not let anybody to look at how many children I have to a case of determining or saying the kind of involved father I am, because like I said earlier, there's never been a time I was told, that my son has an activity that I've never been there. There's never been a time, not a single day. So And in terms of the child support, back child support, I am really surprised beyond word that she will even ask for that, because she know I'm not owing, not even up to that, not even a thousand, to talk about $5,000. That's another one. Then about living all of those stuff is just something so shocking to me. Like I say, I don't have a lawyer or anybody to question her or this or that. It's just me and her. And just like Mr. Gary said earlier, we had a 90% or more than 90% agreement in almost everything. I believe, if you ask me, that's a lot. I've been involved in my boy's life since, being that young I was when he was born. I didn't have another child. He's my first. I used to go over there, pick him up when I didn't even know nothing to do. It's my wife, that we helped me. Then we were not married. We helped me with him. And even when she's not there, I've always been, caring for him since he was less than 6 months old, picking him up over there. Tiara, I will say this in front of the judge. We're not supposed to be here today. There's been a lot of instances you made me cry. If the boy was born, I would drive all the way over there to see him with diapers, everything I bought. I would leave it at the doorstep of your mom and go back home crying because you refused me to see him. Was my crime that I'm not with you? I've always respected you. I've never called you a bad mother. I've never questioned how you take care of my son when he's not over there, because I trust you. I do trust you. So I don't know why we're here. All these things are something that's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. I've never put my boy in any harm's way or whatsoever. So all this made up stuff with the lawyers and all, whatever, it's just, at this point, all I want is just to get my son when I, have a relationship with him like I've always want to do. Not him crying every time that he wants to come here, that he wants to stay with me, but you will not let him. Even the whole phone conversation you're talking about, when I can't even call your phone to speak to him. Communication stuff, the problem with the communication has never been my problem. It's never been an issue with me, because when you call, you will speak to him. But when I call, I cannot speak to him. That's why I stopped calling. I don't even call. When he come here, I tell him, please, when you go home, call me every night with your mom phone so I can talk to you. Your Honor, really, at this point, I don't know. I have nothing else to say. Just make your decision and we go from there.
Yeah, and I have a quick question from, I guess both of y'all, start with Ms. Gibson. What sports is your child doing? Like what activity?
Basketball.
What level of basketball? Are they in a competitive league?
Yes, a competitive league. They travel on the weekends. They can travel locally here in Houston. Yes, his age group, they pretty much travel locally here in Houston.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Okay, you can answer the same question. What activity is your son involved in?
Your Honor, that what you say is absolutely right. That's not true. He's
Okay,
not.
What sports, what activity is your child involved in? Was my question to both of you. What activity do you think your child's involved in?
He just this summer is the first time he's ever been enrolled into this activity right now. And when she said they travel out of town within her anyway, that's absolutely not true. The only person that's old enough in the league to travel is Tyson, and
I said in Houston.
That's exactly the reason why I did not see my son this summer, because she told me that they were going, the time that they were going to College Station. That was not for my son. That was for Tyson. And Tyson went with his coach. She did not even go with the coach. My son told me this because I don't live with them. I wouldn't know, because I was telling him.
Okay, sir, my question was, what sports is Zion doing?
He's doing basketball. He's beginning
on. You agree it's a competitive team?
No, it's not up to anything.
Is it an I-9 team? What do we?
He just started this.
It's AAU.
It's
a competitive team.
You said you can't hear her, Your Honor? She said
when
it's
she interrupted him,
team.
no, I couldn't hear her because they spoke over.
No, it's AAU, and this is not his first summer plan. He's played locally within League City before going to this team.
What is their season?
They play all year round, but
Do you take any breaks?
not really. Maybe a weekend. Maybe they play when school starts. They play one weekend, and then they'll be off the following weekend. But during the summer and during the fall, it's all year round. They may take a weekend off and get right back to it the following weekend.
Your Honor, I did send an example to Ms. Whitaker's email.
So you acknowledge he's on this competitive basketball team right now. Is that true?
So what?
You acknowledge or you recognize, you do know that he's on, that your son is on a competitive basketball team right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's what she said, right?
Okay, did you know that before today?
No, I didn't know that before today because to the best of my knowledge, he was not until today. I'm just hearing it. You know, I know more. I know more about his brother's activities that is actually in competitive teams or whatever. For him, I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay, so you didn't know, but now you know.
Yes, yeah, I know.
And I realize you haven't known for long, so this I'm sorry that this isn't the fairest question under those circumstances. Do you have any objection to him being on that team?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to be sure. I am going to approve the agreements of the parties as dictated onto the record, and that includes the joint managing conservatorship with Ms. Gibson having the right to determine the primary residence of Zion within Galveston and contiguous counties to Galveston. I'm going to approve and order child support of, is it $150 a month?
Yes.
In order that Ms. Gibson continue with the government or medical health plan, and order that Mr. Nwogu pay her cash medical of $50 a month, each of those beginning September 1st of 2024. I'm going to approve all the mutual injunctions that were read into the record. They're clearly written down somewhere. And obviously I'm going to establish Mr. Nwogu as Zion's father and change Zion's last name by everyone's agreement to Nwogu. With regard to the disputed issues, for back child support, I'm ordering a back child support judgment against Mr. Nwogu of $4,000, and I'm ordering that he pay that back to Ms. Gibson at a rate of $50 each month beginning September 1st of 2024. And that will step up once the child emancipates to $200 a month, the current child support plus the amount going towards the back. As to the right of first refusal, I'm going to grant that for both of them, so it goes both ways. And I'm doing it for if either of them will not be with the child for 3.5 hours or more. So a quick trip anywhere would not trigger this. It would have to be a pretty long event that would trigger this. And then whoever opts to take that right of first refusal will have to be responsible for picking up and returning the child to that other parent. And so if Miss Gibson's not going to be around for 4 hours, she says, hey, sir, Mr. Nwogu, do you want to come get him? Mr. Nwogu would say yes, and then he'd be responsible for coming, getting the child, and then bringing the child back. And it would work the same way if Mr. Nwogu is not going to be around the child for 3.5 hours or more, Miss Gibson would be responsible for getting the child back and forth. For rights and duties, I'm going to use the joint managing conservatorship per the Attorney General's office's standard order. And then for summer possession, because I think everyone agreed to the standard possession order, the dispute was over the summer. For the summer, I'm going to order the standard possession order. However, I'm going to include some extra orders in this order. The first is that I'm going to make a finding that the parties agree that Zion is currently on a competitive basketball team, and each of you are ordered to make best efforts to take the child to practices and games. I'm ordering that each parent notify the other parent the name of, and this really applies to Ms. Gibson more, but Mr. Nwogu could enroll the child in something over the summer, I guess. Must inform the other parent of any school or school districts. You need to list the other parent as a parent. So definitely on school forms, ma'am, he has to be listed as a father and a person to be notified in case of an emergency. So, sir, if you enroll Zion in any camp during the summer, during your period, you would have to you'd have to let that camp know and list her as another parent and someone also to be notified in case of an emergency. I know there's extensive forms for these things. Also, ma'am, I'm ordering you to send him information to get, or either you enroll him or send him information on how to use Skyward. Although I think once you put him in as a parent with his information, he should be getting Skyward information. And also the information you're now receiving on Connect CCISD, because if he signs up for that, he should start getting information from CCISD if they ever start using that program. I don't know if they are yet. I have not downloaded it yet myself, but it's coming. At least that's what they keep telling us. So that way he can look on his own. He can, and sir, I encourage you to also get on Canvas, although he's still 9. It's going to become a bigger issue in middle school, all this information. So that's when you get more information from CCISD. But you'll start getting bombarded with information from CCISD once you start getting named as this, sir. And then you'll get bombarded with join the PTA emails and all sorts of things that you can get in. You know, they'll probably even be begging you to become someone in charge of a club at the school, because they're probably desperate for someone to run their clubs and desperate for someone to take over all sorts of things. So you'll be able to get as involved as you want with all that, because I'm sure they are desperate for people to do all those things. So anyway, for the sake of the order, you each order to provide each other with the name of any school, school district, camp that you enroll the child in. Both have to list the other parent as a parent and person to be notified in case of an emergency. And then, ma'am, make sure you send him that information on your order to provide him information on Connect CCISD and Skyward. I'm also ordering that each of you share information regarding the other parent regarding any extracurriculars, including basketball. And that includes schedules of practices and games. And each parent is ordered to provide the other parent information regarding any apps that are used for the school, extracurricular sports, or any other activity of the child. Sir, I'm willing to bet that your son's basketball team has an app that provides a calendar that gets regularly updated with all the schedules and games. Sometimes you get advance notice, sometimes you're told that day it's being canceled, but I bet it's out there because I know my children's activities all have these things. And that will help keep you informed also without Ms. Gibson having to constantly let you know. You can take it and run with it yourself.
Sure.
Okay, so those are my special provisions for this order. Does everyone have those? I could try to, this isn't the best language, but I can try and put this in the chat actually, if you want. You can add some fancy language and.
I appreciate that, Your Honor. I try to write it down as fast as possible, but I appreciate it, any type of writing.
Let me fix a few spell checking errors here, because. Okay. Yeah, this isn't order language. It's not the prettiest, but this is more or less let me find the chat. If I do it to everyone in meeting, it doesn't go to people in the breakout rooms, does it?
Let's see.
Ms. Eschenberg might know.
If you want to send it to the OAG and he can just, I took detailed notes, Your Honor, right now, so I'll see it in the order.
Ms. Eschenberg, if I put something in the chat to everyone, it just stays in this room, right? It doesn't go to people in breakout rooms?
I think it just stays between us.
That's what I thought too.
As long as it doesn't say everyone.
Well, it has to say everyone because you can't choose like 3 people. It has to be.
Your Honor, I can move to a breakout room and you can test it.
Oh, that's an idea. Or would you rather me send it to you, Mr. Dingameja, and you can send it to both Mr. Nwogu and Ms. Whitaker?
I'll do it.
Okay, I'll just email you this. It's, again, not the prettiest, but.
So, Your Honor, I have a question to you. May I ask?
You may ask. I'm not sure it's something I'm going to be able to answer.
Okay, yeah. So I want to be more clear. I want to be, specific on these things so I can know exactly, in order not to default. So, does that mean my son, aside from my home to other homes? So I just want to make sure, is he just, in my home, or him being outside of my home more than 3 hours? I just need to understand this stuff because it's really difficult to
When you're not the one, and Ms. Whitaker, you have the language that you're actually going to use when you're not the one there. So if you and him go on a vacation or you go spend the night at your parents' house, you're with your child, and that doesn't count. It's when you're having someone else watch your child, either in your house or outside your house. It's
So
when
that,
you're not around for an extended period of time.
okay.
So if it's just like an hour, like let's say you get a job and you leave a little early and your wife is with the kids in the morning, that won't trigger it. That's a short period of time. It's when it's like 3.5 hours or more.
Another thing I would like to know is about, the calls, because I can't, when he's over there, I can't reach him. So I guess maybe when he's over here, because at this point, I'm gonna be completely honest as always. If he's with me, I mean, she can't call my phone because I call her to speak to my son. I can't. She won't answer. So, I mean, if it's with me, I just want to state that for the record. So there we don't have any kind of communication until he goes back. Just like I can't have any kind of communication while he's over there.
One other thing I was planning on ordering, I'm sorry, I was ordering both to a parenting class.
What's the date for that, Your Honor? What date do they need to complete that by?
These are online these days, so it's not as difficult as it used to be. How about by September 27th? So the Attorney General's office is going to draft this order. You might be coordinating with Ms. Whitaker on the injunctions. And then they'll be circulating it to everybody to review and sign off on. Do you need an entry date for this one, Mr. Decoration?
Yeah, and if we can get it done today, that'd be good, but maybe we
It's up
can
to
do
you.
it. Ms. Whitaker, do you think we could get it done today?
I don't know if Mrs. Gibson has to go pick up their son or her kids from school today. Do you have to pick up your kids?
Yes.
Probably not then. She probably needs to go. So I won't be able to review it with her.
Okay. How about we set entry August 28th?
That works for me.
So that is a date. If you dispute anything in the drafting, it's a date to come dispute the drafting. It's not a chance to rehash the issues or anything like that, though.
August 28th at 8:30?
And if everyone signs off ahead of time, there's no need to show up for it. It's if you have a dispute on the drafting, then show up and we'll get into the drafting issues. I'm going to stop the recording. And then I guess you're all free to go, actually. I think we're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.